Sri Lanka is a small island in the Indian Ocean at the southern tip of the Indian subcontinent. It is about 25,000 square miles in extent, tropical in climate, and having a population of about 20 million people. Sinhala Buddhists constitute the majority, but a strong multi-ethnic and multi-religious presence is observed. The country has a written history of over 2,500 years. The latter 300 to 400 years have been strongly influenced by the colonial domination of European nations. The independence in 1948 has brought in a democratic system of governance which the country has proudly maintained intact in spite of few sporadic threats which appeared in different times but successfully averted or being averted. The docile, self-sufficiently oriented traditional economic patterns of ancient Sri Lanka were converted due to colonial interventions to one of import-export nature. The city of Colombo derives its importance in national economic context, not only because it was the capital city of the country, but more so due to its maritime port. Colombo, in view of its geographical location, also has a significance in global east-west shipping activities. Country's exports have expanded from raw agricultural materials to include more value-added consumer and industrial products. Welfare-oriented economic policies of successive governments have produced mixed results. To quote a few, generally low levels of productivity in production, but also relatively impressive achievements in areas of Human Development Index, etc. The city of Colombo was the seat for many port-related commercial and financial activities, which resulted in the provision of residential facilities of different grades for different strata of the workforce. Among many other types, the tenement houses, consisting of adjacently built housing units with a common access pathway in front, was prevalent. Notably, the toilets, washing and bathing facilities were provided at a different location in the same land parcel, but for common use. However, during previous times, the facilities were maintained at an optimum level by the landlords, the owners of such housing. In mid-70s, the government introduced wide-ranging reforms in housing ownership in a bid to improve the standard of living. Unfortunately, the government organizations which were entrusted with this task fell far short of the expectations due to many reasons. The Colombo Municipal Council also could not have done much as the ownership of such housing was in different hands. In the 1980s, the National Housing Development Authority, which hitherto was going on an urban renewal approach, changed and adopted a participatory urban upgrading approach. With much international assistance as well, the change policy enabled to avert a major catastrophe. The Colombo municipality was its main partner in Colombo activities. However, the housing and service provision problems in the city were increasing and was a major burden to the council. In the mid-90s, the council was gravely in search of a solution. The council was hitherto playing the role of a strong regulator in the city, in addition to being a service provider. In mid-90s, the council took drastic action, violating prevailing practices, to break away from its regulator role to become a facilitator. Under the member allocation programs, council funds were spent on underserved settlements in the city. CBOs under the name City Development Councils were actively promoted and strengthened. A GIS-mounted database of nearly 1,600 settlements in the city was created. A documentation named Poverty Profile was compiled under UN funding. Much improvements were brought to the procedure under GTZ-funded Primus project. In spite of that, a grave and important question remained to be answered. How effective are these measures in improving the standard of living, reducing poverty, reducing resulting normal burdens, etc.? few independent studies done during this period did not bring about a satisfactory solution. In 2006, the Council was very proud to have the proposed research project on poverty and environment selected by the IDRC for implementation. In the project, the Council is strongly anchored by the versatility of its partners, namely Sevanata, a widely experienced local NGO in urban activities, and also SEPA, a reputed independent poverty research organization. Gautamipura is an underserved settlement in the eastern part of the city, bordered by a canal and more affluent housing conforming to city planning regulations. Project study includes the affluent houses too, due to various social links that exist in spite of disparities, and also common environmental problems faced by the two communities. Secondly, the land regularization has been carried out previously. A mixed grade housing consisting of A. 22 two-storied houses on two-perch land parcels, B. 208 single-storied houses on two-perch land parcels, C. 38 houses as walk-up three-storied apartments developed by the NHDA, D. 8 temporary structures were enumerated. The total population in the underserved settlements is 1,664. The burdens: the polluted canal water, absence of satisfactory sewerage and hence overflowing toilet pits in the rainy weather, absence of house-to-house or any regular solid waste collection. Next, reasons for selection: ready availability of data in the Council. Next, the improvement could be effected within the project funding limits. Again, the Council possessed the specialist skills to implement the improvements that the site was in need. Again, partly carried out land regularization work was a favorable prerequisite for a research project. The overall objectives: to reduce environmental burdens, and does it lead to reduced poverty? Specific objectives: 1. Use water and sanitation as an entry point. 2. To improve knowledge on linkages among different aspects of poverty of financial, socio-political, resource, human and environmental. 3. Effects of land tenure security and access to services to improve livelihoods and living conditions. 4. Use above to improve the service provision by the Council. Finally, to enhance team capability for participatory research and communication. The completed activities are as follows: the formation of a CBO, namely the Community Development Council, the community action planning, next the boundary, internal and level surveys, fourthly, baseline questionnaire survey to collect data and to be used in the urban monitoring and evaluation plan. Next, the technical surveys, designs and contract documentation for sewerage. Also, project planning for source separation, regular collection and recycling of solid waste. And finally, trust building activities of temporary office at site, more frequent septic tank clearing, more frequent solid waste collection, social upgrading activities or skill improvements have been implemented to counter the long implementation time. In conclusion, the project is in satisfactory progress in spite of initial setbacks under a steering committee and 2 subcommittees, one for implementation and the second for monitoring, evaluation and research.